Hello everyone, welcome back to your weekly quantum teaching. This week we are going to be talking about the uncertainty principle and its relation with fate. Now, like every week, we've been talking about these different aspects of quantum mechanics and quantum theory to basically help bridge the very physical aspect of earthly experience, whether it's really related to science and mathematics or really related to what we can experience and know about our everyday life, and the esoteric elements that come with it, the mysterious aspects of our journeys here on earth and the unknown elements that may come with it. And so, of course, you want to watch the whole video through. This is a very brief teaching, so if you want to learn more, I definitely encourage you to go do your research. But essentially, we are going to take more scientific and mathematical concepts of quantum mechanics and quantum theory for the next few weeks and try to bridge that with the esoteric aspect of it. And it's going to make sense by the end of this video, okay? If it doesn't and you have more questions, just send me an email, doortovalue@gmail.com, because comments will be off on these videos on YouTube and Instagram. Or alternatively, you can send me a direct message on Instagram at School of the Ascending if you have more questions or you want to inquire more on these topics, because it can be very, very confusing, right? It's something that is essentially, it gets deep and it's like, okay, how is this relevant to my earthly experience, but also to what I'm experiencing in upper dimensions, through my higher self, with what's coming in my journey, etc. So we'll always be able to bridge some of these concepts so you have a better understanding. And I have my trusty whiteboard to be able to show you some of that as well. So the uncertainty principle was created in 1927 by a physicist named Heisenberg. Okay, that's his last name. So this principle is also known as the Heisenberg Principle. And essentially it states that there's a limit to the precision, okay, with which pairs of physical properties such as position and momentum can be measured. It basically states that two things cannot be measured at the same time if it relates to speed and location. So, for example, let's say you are running on a sidewalk and you have one friend who is measuring the speed with which you're running and the other friend that's measuring your exact location. The friend that's measuring your exact location cannot measure your exact location because you're running, you're moving. It can measure the lasting location, okay? The point that you're running to, okay? The end of the run, so point B. It can measure that you started at point A and point B, but it cannot measure the exact location if you're moving, right? It's kind of like when I'm seeing the imagery of a map, and let's say you're having a pin or you're tracking your friend's location or you're waiting for your Uber and you see that the car, right, the pin is moving. You can't track its exact location if something's moving. And so this is essentially stating its relevancy to everyday life, right? Now you might be wondering, well, doesn't that place a limitation on an earthly experience if we say that there's an impossible aspect? Like we cannot measure an exact location, but we can also we can measure this, but we cannot measure that, and vice versa. It makes sense. So I want you to think of this example, okay? Let's say you are outside and you feel the wind, okay? What do you notice about the wind? That you can only feel it, right? Maybe you can notice what direction it's coming from, but if you continue to walk, you're going to start to feel the wind in perhaps different directions, right? And depending on where everyone else is around the area that you're in that's also feeling the wind, they might be feeling the wind coming from a different direction. The wind is just a wind. It just exists. But the way in which it moves and flows is coming in different directions simply because that is what the wind does. You don't question where it comes from. You don't question where it's going. You just know that you're feeling the wind. So this is essentially how the uncertainty principle is related to fate. We often say that we cannot really understand fate and when fate or destiny will arrive at our doorstep, only that we know that fate will come at a point. It's kind of like when you're trying to get clear on your purpose or your mission, you can't really understand or ask the how or the when. Those things are not going to appear because then there's a controlling aspect, right? There's an element of uncertainty. The uncertainty principle is applied with various aspects of our everyday life because we are not going to have all the answers. Not all things can be measured at once. Not all things can be delivered to you at once. There has to be an element of uncertainty, of mystery. And that's essentially how fate works. You can't measure or predict or know exactly when fate will appear because fate is moving alongside the journey of your timeline, the journey of your life, right? But you can kind of come to the conclusion to know that fate is moving with you, but you can't see when it's going to drop its pin in your timeline. It just happens when it needs to, right? When it's the exact moment, right? And so it happens this way with fate, with our purpose, with our missions, with the things that we want to create for ourselves. Oftentimes, there's more confusion that is brought to the forefront whenever we are trying to come up with the hows and the when. Like, how is this going to happen? How am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? Those are aspects of uncertainty. You can only propose the why. Why do you want to get there? What is the intention? There's a very 3D aspect related to it, right? Quantum theory is very much related to both the 3D, well, it's all-encompassing, right, of all that is, but quantum theory basically takes something from the 3D world and it brings it into the 5D, right? And when we take it to the 5D, it becomes a whole other element of creation. There's more aspects, more variables that come to play. So the uncertainty principle, while it's something that seems so physical, so much related to science and mathematics, you cannot physically measure speed and exact location, which are true. You cannot. And the example of running on a sidewalk and having two friends measure both one friend the speed that you're running and the exact location, it proves that, right? You can measure point A to B, but you cannot measure the exact location because you're moving, right? When an object is in motion, it cannot be measured the exact location because the exact location is moving. Just like the Uber that you're waiting for or the pin that you're following on Google Maps, you know, it's going to be moving. So you can't measure its exact location if it's in motion, right? And that's how fate works. When we take this aspect and we bring it to the 5D, what we're actually saying is that as you're going about your timeline, right? You're going about your timeline, you're going about your life, you're on your own journey. Essentially, you're in motion with your life. Fate, which is the exact location in this example, will only drop its pin when you're no longer in motion, when you've stopped, i.e. when it's divine timing. So when you are in motion, fate drops its pin, okay? Drops its pin when you've stopped. Only when you've stopped. And that means when it's divine timing. If we were to take something as physical as this example here, what we're relating to is how fate drops its pin on your timeline. Things become clear, the hows and the whens, okay? They become clear in divine timing, okay? That exact location, that exact pin drop becomes clear when the momentum has ceased, when it's the moment in which you can actually measure that thing, right? Measure that point. You've achieved all these lessons in your life. So now the how you will get there and the when you will get there is ready to appear. And so what we're doing is we're taking something, again, that's so logical, and we're saying and seeing how it plays its relevancy in the 5D. Another example I want to give you guys here is, let's say you were going to go to the wild and live with a pack of wolves. Now, you are not an environmental expert or an expert in wolves, but maybe you think that they're cute, but you don't exactly know how the wolves are going to react in the wild. Even if you have your tent, even if you have your camping supplies, you might not know. There's an uncertainty factor to which these wildlife creatures are going to react to your presence in their environment. There's an uncertainty principle there, right? Just like there's always an unknown principle, a mysterious principle to our everyday life. And so fate has this correlation with the uncertainty principle, this relation with the uncertainty principle, because it's saying that essentially there will be things that are uncertain in the quantum and in your everyday life in the 3D, but the answers come when it's divine timing, when the pin is ready to be dropped, when the momentum has stopped. And usually when the momentum in the 3D, the running, has stopped, that's when we start to receive the clarity. Essentially, when you are, this is what I'm just hearing right now, Archangel Zadkiel is here as well. So I'm not sure. I believe that that's someone's guides. I haven't really worked with him very much, so I'm not really sure. But yes, Archangel is showing me a scroll right now and writing down. It's like when you've surrendered, okay? When you've surrendered to the uncertainty, surrendered to the unknown, that is when divine timing can sort of take over the wheel. I'm hearing Jesus take the wheel and maneuver its way into your timeline to show you the presence that divine timing has. So I hope that this makes sense. This was a very quick, brief teaching, again, meant to assist you to start to become curious, ask more questions, have a better understanding of these very, again, physical concepts that are actually mirroring the higher realms in a way, okay? There's acronyms, metaphors, synchronicities between what we all experience between 3D and 5D, etc. And so we need to come to terms with that understanding. Don't worry about the how, don't worry about the when, surrender, stop running, release the momentum, and allow divine timing, allow fate to take over. Your job is to know the why. Your job is to have the intention. Because when you have the intention, you have the clear understanding of what you want, okay? Why you are doing the things you're doing, why you are pursuing the things that you are pursuing. Then you start to receive clarity. It becomes clearer on your journey of where exactly certainty is able to drop its pin. Fate is able to drop its pin to remind you that all is going out in the favor that it needs to for your journey. You actually align into your higher self's journey, into your higher self's timeline, the timeline that is for your best and highest good when you surrender. And one of the easiest ways to do this is put the intention out there, manifest it, put the idea out there, be clear on it. Obviously, you want to take action on it, but surrender by being present every single day with what you're doing. Use your senses to help you with that. So I hope that this video was helpful. I hope that it resonated in some shape or form, or was able to provide value for you. And of course, collective, stay tuned for next week's video. Until next time, go and grow.